Eric, why do people come to mediums? What do they get from you? What are they looking for?
I think, Vivien, a lot of times they're looking for hope. They're looking for a continuing of the connection that they had with this person here on earth. And sometimes they're looking for evidence that that person's still in their life and has moved to another place, and that they're safe, they're well, and things like that. Quite often, too, in their own grief, they'll have elements of guilt. Maybe they didn't make it to the hospital in time before someone passed, or they were out of state, or someone passed in an accident and they're afraid that they died alone, things like that. And so they're looking for a way to basically say, I'm sorry because I wasn't there, or I tried and I couldn't make it. And so I think they get confirmation from their loved ones in the spirit world that they are okay, that you don't need to feel guilty. I knew you were with me in your thoughts. I knew you were trying to get there, but I didn't want you to see me. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's all kinds of ways that the person in the spirit world then can help someone to begin to move forward with their life on earth without that loved one's physical presence. Quite often I get people that they feel guilty for some reason because something didn't go the way they thought it should. And so I think they get permission to let go of the guilt. They get comfort.
I wouldn't have put guilt at the top of the list if I had imagined why people come to see mediums. So that's very, very interesting for me.
It's a big one.
I would have thought it would be just wanting to know that the existence continues.
That's another big one. So they want confirmation or evidence that that person is still around them.
And what kind of thing constitutes evidence that that person is still around them?
So typically, when I'm working mediumistically, it doesn't always happen, but I usually check with the person in the spirit world communicating with me. I'll say, is there something going on in this person's life that you'd like to talk about since you've passed? Now, it's not a message per se, because I don't want to go psychic and read a message.
Yes.
I want it to come direct. And they'll say, just let them know that I heard them talking about me in the car. Or, I know that they say a prayer for me every night when they lay their heads down.
I have a story like that.
Right.
I have a story like I don't generally work as a medium, but we had a couple, Neil and I had a couple who came to see us and wanted help, and then they asked if the daughter could come. And when the daughter came to speak to her mom, who had committed suicide, the mom said, tell her I saw what happened at the birthday party with the birthday cake.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what they meant at
Mm-hmm.
all. I thought, at the birthday party with the birthday cake? And the little girl laughed and she said, oh! And I said, well, what did happen? I asked the little girl, what did happen at the birthday party with the birthday cake? And she said, I fell head first into the cake and I went straight into the cake like that, and then I had the cake all over my face. And I said, that really is something for a spirit to see. And I thought that was really interesting because I haven't had any training. It's something that just happened.
It happened.
Yeah.
And I think spontaneous mediumship does happen when you're really looking for your loved ones. Everybody has some ability.
And it comes from my desire to be a healer, and I just want what will be healing in the moment to happen, and that's
Right.
how that came through.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, it might be that they know where their possessions have moved to, and they know that you've gone through the photo album. They know that you've got it on your coffee table, or they know that you've taken a picture that was in their home and it's now on your entertainment center, and then they'll describe the picture. So they let people know that they're near them. They've been in their home visiting and things like that. Quite often, it's funny, if sometimes I have a family in the room, and they'll put little dream bubbles over a couple people's heads for me, and they'll tell me in claircognizance, so in my thoughts, they'll give me the thought that they've been able to visit these people in their dreams, but they've not been able to visit this person. And so I'll say, I know you've had the dream visits, but you have not. And they'll say, that's right. Why is that? And then the person in the spirit world says, let them know I'm trying. Let them know I'm really trying. But you're so... And oftentimes the grief in that person that's not having the visits, their grief will have their mind so busy while they're sleeping, they're trying to cope physically and emotionally so badly, their body's healing in that way, that there's no time or room or space in the mind for the person in the spirit world to visit.
Yes.
But they will feel them wrapped around their shoulders, or they'll catch a whiff of their perfume, things like that. They just don't get the dreams. So they let them know in many different ways, really.
Yes, because I don't get dreams about my son, but I do talk to him all the time. I don't need to be dreaming to connect with him. But Neil dreams about him.
Well, I guarantee you, he knows who gets the dreams and who talks.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? And I'm quite sure, psychically, you can hear his voice answering you once in a while.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
I just know, sorry, I psychically peaked there, but, you know.
Please do.
You know, it's interesting to me because I can move through different layers and levels of spiritual soul communication, so I can go from the spirit world to the psychic, back and forth, but I like to tell people when I'm working psychic.
And exactly, but coming back to the evidence in mediumship, I think that evidence is really, really important for all parties, isn't it? For you, for the spirit, and for the person who's incarnated here on earth. I think that evidence is what makes the difference.
It does, and what I do really is evidence-based mediumship.
Yes.
It's no good coming to me if you just want me to say your grandma's there and she loves you and expect you to believe me, because I wouldn't believe it myself. Do you know what I mean?
Of course not.
But so like I said, what the ring? If the woman, I feel a ring on my finger, I'm going to ask the woman to tell me more about this ring, and that's where the evidence comes from. Do you know what I mean? Yes.
Yes.
Or I'll say, are there any photographs of you you'd like to talk about? And you know,
yes.
You have these women. They were older when they passed, but they didn't like aging. You know what I mean?
Oh yes, so they go back to when they were younger.
They will show photographs of them, you know, with the cinched belt around the waist, and you know, the 1950s dresses or whatever. Look, with their hair all done and the bright lipstick and everything. But they'll tell me a photograph of them. Maybe they're stood next to a car. Or
yes,
you know,
yes.
Or a family reunion, and then they'll tell me about the picture. But they'll tell me if it's in an album, an envelope, a box, or a frame.
Yes, so it's specific, and it's verifiable.
Absolutely. So for me, the evidence comes from having that conversation. It's not what's your name, what's your date of birth, you know, that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't go to the spirit world with a list of things that I think is evidence, because how do I know what evidence is to them?
Yes.
Do you see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So I kind of leave it open that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you're always looking for that evidence.
Oh, yeah. You know, if a woman tells me she's a good cook and she takes me in her kitchen and I can smell and taste and see what she's cooking and we'll talk about it. But then I say, do you know what? Does anybody have any of your pots and pans and your bakeware from your kitchen? And they'll say, oh yes, you know, she's got some, but it's collecting dust on top of the cabinets. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
She don't cook with them. She hung them on the wall. And we get a chuckle out of it, because then the people are like, tell her not to look at my dust, you know. So, but it's evidence, but it also proves connection with them still in life.
That's right. It's wonderful.
It's interesting to me. I never know what I'm proving to whom.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Eric, thank you so much for explaining evidence-based mediumship to us. Thank you.